And then back to Iguodala to the rim. Oh, great block. James out of nowhere, skies to the rim. Oh, Boyd took the advantage and played on from inside the center square. Boyd kicked the goal. Boyd kicked the goal from inside the center. Here's Aloisi for a place in the World Cup. He scored! Hands right back up. Big head kick. Down goes Thompson. It's over.
Live it, breathe it, love it. All sports, double coverage.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the second episode of Double Coverage Podcast. I'm Domma and I'm with Saucey. We're hoping that you're living it, loving it, and still breathing sport out there. How you going, Saucey? What's happening, big fella?
Domma, how are we, mate? It's been a big week in sport. The NBA is back and we are frothing it. There's been AFL every day, NBA every day. Doesn't get much better than that, does it? Come on.
It definitely doesn't. I can assure you that much. It has been amazing. So we've got a bit of a show coming up. Why don't you give them a rundown, Sauce, the listeners, of what's coming up tonight, mate?
All right. So this evening we're going to have our two hot takes. I'll just breeze past those because, you'll hear enough on that point. Then we'll have a bit of AFL news, talking and touching on the week in AFL, previewing a few games, talking about what's happened and what's transpired. Then onto a bit of F1 news. We know Domma loves the F1 and he's gotten me onto it. I actually tuned into the race this week and let me tell you, it was an absolute perler. Followed by a bit of UFC. Like to just throw a bit of MMA in there. Have been a fan for quite a while now. Don't know as much as some people, but I'll give my opinion where I think it could be valid. A bit of soccer news where we're looking forward towards the Champions League coming back. We'll touch on a bit of transfer speculation and then also a bit of Champions League news previewing the upcoming games. Then onto a bit of NBA news where we'll talk about what's been happening in the bubble and how teams have been faring against one another. And then, of course, everyone's favourite segment, Sauceys Smokey, where I am back with another card that you should be on buying. And this week, it's not even a card. It's just a player where I'm just like, you got to be buying this guy because, he's not been given the respect he's deserved. So, yeah, Domma, then we'll better kick the show off. So we
will kick it off.
You throw it out there.
It's been such an interesting week. I'll tell you what, the basketball's been back. It's been awesome. We can't get enough of it. And we've got another basketball take to start off the show this episode. It's just been a whirlwind. You can obviously see the discrepancies between teams in the bubble. Obviously, some have come out a bit better than others. Some have happened to work out their game plan compared to others. And the transition has been seamless. But there's one team in particular that I want to talk about, just as a team dynamic, but also for a player. I was on the socials tweeting out a few things, and obviously, as the Twitterverse does, mate, they just want to get in you and have a crack at you. I may have tweeted that I thought James Harden was one of the worst defenders I've ever seen. That tweet did get tweeted out by myself after I saw Luka Doncic blow past him 6 times on 6 different possessions. And I was
his perimeter defense is elite, Domma. Haven't you heard that one before?
No, mate, I'll tell you what, I just said, mate, again, we're always getting fired up in the first segment. I tell you what, it's just ridiculous. They sent me a bloody highlight clip of all James Harden's great defensive plays. There was 8 great defensive plays in that game. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you what happened. We're going to review this first game. We're going to talk about James Harden and the Houston Rockets. This is where we're going with it. Harden was solid in that game offensively. Had 49, 70% from the floor, 21 free throws, attempted. He hit 18 of them. He went 3 from 9 from downtown. But he's a solid defender. First of all, there's 302 points scored in that Dallas Mavericks.
There was no defense played.
There's no defense. I don't care what his defensive rating was in that game. It was terrible anyway. But you know what his plus minus was in that game? He shot 49. You know what it was, Sauce?
Go on.
You know what it was? Plus
Hit me.
4. Plus 4.
There you go.
All right. So I don't want to hear this crap. Anyway, I'll give him credit where credit's due. Second game against the Bucks, best defensive team in the competition. He had some great moments here. He had 6 steals, which was fantastic. Like, that's what you want to see. But what we're trying to talk about here is everyone's just blowing up James Harden like, yeah, he was a terrible defender in 2015. He was terrible. But now he's a really good defender. No. You don't go from terrible to really good. We've got all the stats here, mate. Don't worry. We've done
Do you want to know really good is Kawhi Leonard?
He's really good.
If you're saying he's as good defender as Kawhi Leonard, then he's really good. But the fact that people trying to blow him up like the guy is a subpar defender, and that's fact. The numbers say that. You know?
That's all it is. Like he's no. I'll give him the credit and just say he's an average defender. Average at best.
Average,
He can be just above average on nights like he was against the Bucks. But I'll tell you what, yeah, he had that game, and everyone was just like, "Oh my god, this guy is the greatest defensive player. He's so good," and that's all I can. And mind you, he's the greatest left-handed scorer of all time. Like I actually give a crap about that stat. Like I actually care about that. Anyway, how about you give us some actual relevant stuff? Not he's the best left-handed player, offensive player of all time. I don't care about that rubbish. That is just trash. Trash stats. Anyway, defensive stats. I'll tell you what. We're going to give the facts. I've had enough. I actually did some review in the second game. The other thing we want to talk about in the defense is his tendency to draw fouls that aren't actually there, and they're soft fouls, because this correlates directly with the defense, because when we go into playoffs, as you know, Sauce,
yeah,
none of this gets called. And then he complains, and then everyone bags him, and then he's got a bad rep because he can't get out of the playoffs. He can't win it. Like, he can't get out of the West. You know what the problem is? The refs are as much to blame as James Harden is to blame for the flopping, because they're calling this crap, and then when it gets to the playoffs, you get a different tale. It's two different worlds out there.
It's true. And
so James Harden, who's gone through the season, he's like, oh, I'm getting this called in the regular season on a Monday night. I can't get this called in the playoffs. What's going on? You called it all the other times. That's what he's putting his case forward. It's all well and good during the regular season, but where it counts, mate, they don't call nothing. They swallow the whistle, mate. You know this. So, yeah, very interesting. So
back to his defense, mate. His defense. That's what we're talking about. And we're only on this point because when we try to engage people on the socials during the week about his defense, we got such a bite back from people trying to say he's an elite defender. The guy is not an elite defender.
To quote one of the people,
an improved defender. But I put this to Domma. I said, it'd be interesting to go have a look at his defensive rating over the season, which is a 65-game sample size, and not just look at these last 2 games, which is a 2-game sample size, and see where his defensive rating ranks amongst superstars that are now in the bubble, right? And superstars, we're talking about the LeBrons, we're talking about Kawhi, Paul George, AD, like the elite players, right?
I'm not talking about this. We are not talking about players like, as we got thrown in our face, Lillard, Jokic, and Doncic. They're not superstars. They're star players. The superstars these are the best of the best. They're in another tier. They're in another level. I don't want to hear, Jokic and this and that. He's got a better defensive rating, which we did prove when you look into the stats through defensive rating and stuff. The only guy he's better than is Lillard. He's just as bad a defender as Doncic, and he's worse a defender than Jokic. So, and he's worse than all of the superstars in the bubble that are playing.
I mean, Dante DiVincenzo is a better on-ball defender than him. So
he is.
My boy.
He actually is.
He's in the top 5.
And the other thing that's got it all out of whack that people have to understand with defensive rating, team defense, they were ranked 23rd, yeah. They beat Milwaukee. They went up to 15th. So everyone's just like, their team defense is amazing. You got to remember now that all the data that is being calculated is to a sample size of 22 teams now, not 30 teams. So when there's 8 other teams playing, it changes the result dramatically. So there's teams that aren't in the bubble
Skewed.
that were ahead of Houston defensively, and it still is. Chicago's still a better defensive team than Houston Rockets are, and they're not even playing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is the thing I don't understand. And back to, like, I understand that they've got this small ball, like basketball, and they draw a lot of fouls, and there's so many soft ones. He doesn't play deep as much as everyone thinks he does. Like, he has this blow by where he just wraps his hand around, and that's how he gets his steals. But of all the defensive plays, like, honestly, I reckon we say, all right, he might have had in that game where he had the steals. He had 6 great defensive plays. Easy. That's fine. And then he had 6 great steals, so 6 great defensive plays, and then he might have had probably 4 more. So that's 10. Yes, we'll say he's plus 10 on great defense in the game. I'm looking at the stat sheet source, and last time I checked, if you get 5 personal fouls, that's 5 terrible defensive stops. Last time I checked, so that's automatically he's at plus 5 now in terms of great defensive stops. And we'll look at it as if it was a plus minus. Then I'm watching the game, and if he has 4 more bad defensive plays, which he has, because I've watched all 3 of Houston's games, if he's just plus 1 on a great defense, he's average.
That's right.
He's average.
And this is where I've tried to bring it back to the point, their defense, what were they, ranked 23rd in the league this season?
Coming back into the restart.
Back into the restart, right? Their defense has improved a little bit, but that's also a bit of a false positive because of, a few nullifying factors. Then I look at it like this. I genuinely can't see them getting anywhere with PJ Tucker playing the 5. Like, when it gets to a point with the better teams and they just able to crash the glass, like you seen today when they versed Portland. Portland was able to crash the glass, get the second chance opportunities. Mind you, another game where James Harden had 5 fouls by the 4th quarter. He nearly fouled out. So that's great defense by getting 5 fouls.
He was actually terrible today. He was actually terrible, like really bad today. Like, he had a couple good stops where he shut down people and he came and he played help defense a couple times, but he was terrible. Absolutely. And the excuse that people are already saying, is, but he's playing on centers. He has to defend centers. We don't want to hear that rubbish. That was a conscious decision by the front office at Houston to get rid of all their big guys and play small ball. So you will defend whoever's put on the court in front of you.
That's exactly right.
I don't care if he's 7 foot. If you're coming up against 3 7-footers like Portland having their team in Whiteside, Collins, and Nurkic, that's your problem. You work it out. You work it out. In your rotations, how are you going to do it? Don't tell me, Harden can't D up a big guy. He had 1 great defensive stop against Milwaukee, against Giannis, and everyone was just celebrating like, he's the best defender ever. But then when he comes up against 7-footers again, he gets absolutely destroyed today. They're defending him. So let's just meet in the middle here, where he's just average. Just calm down a bit. His defensive rating puts him, and I was nice. I was actually really nice to him. I got rid of the players that aren't playing in the bubble when I did the defensive rating.
Yeah.
He's still ranked 160th in the league. If I put all the players that I took out back in, he's ranked 271st in the league for defending. You know what that is? There's about 550 to 600 players in the league. So what's that tell you? It's in the middle. He's average.
Right? And I'm not sitting here and just, we're just going to bash James Harden.
No.
He doesn't do anything good for a team. He's so good. His offensive power is elite. Steph Curry's a terrible defender.
Yeah.
But his offense outweighs his defense. But at times, you see Steph Curry come up with a defensive play and help his team, similar to James Harden. But don't come here and say that what people were saying on the socials and what we've seen people commenting across Twitter and even articles that we've read.
Heaps of articles.
We've read about James Harden's elite defense. He is not an elite defender. That's
He's
it.
not elite.
That's
He's nowhere
it.
even
Next segment.
close to it.
We're moving on from this shit. James Harden is not an elite defender. Houston ain't going to win without.
Well, we have to touch
Same
on one
page.
thing because we've got to touch on the obviously the difference between Harden getting those foul calls as well. Like just Houston in general, they're relying on getting to the line because they are small, so
Here we
they're going
go.
to look for
All right.
fouls. So I actually just looked at Harden, just himself, as a case study for how it looks when he comes from regular season into the playoff. So I've taken the last 2 seasons. Sauce didn't
Yep.
know I did this.
Oh,
I've
here we
taken
go.
this.
This is
So
all
this
right.
is
That's why I
17
tried to move us on. Here we go. This is good info.
This is 17-18 regular season. He averaged 20.1 field goal attempts on 45% shooting. He took 10 threes a game. He averaged 37 for 3. He took 10.1 free throw attempts. The turnovers doesn't really matter. He had 4.4. And then he averaged 30.4 points per game. He went into the playoffs. He averaged 2.5 more field goal attempts. His shooting percentage went down 4%. He averaged the same 3-point percentage attempts. Ready for this one? His 3-point shooting percentage, because you're not getting fouls, your dinky ones where you stick out your leg, went down 6.8%. His free throw attempts went down almost 2.5 attempts a game. His turnovers went down. His points per game went down 1.8. Let's go to 18-19. 24.5 field goal attempts on 44.2 field goal percentage. He averaged 13 threes on 36.8%. Free throw attempts were 11, turnovers 5. He averaged 36.1 in the regular season. Playoffs, same field goal attempts. Percentage went down 3% again. He took 1 less 3. His 3 percentage went down 1.5. His free throw attempts went down 2.1. His turnovers went down. His points per game went down 5 a game. Like, I just don't get it. It's just proven right there. Some things, you say, oh, it just goes down. But you got to do it in 7 games when it counts, bro. Like, that's what you got to do.
And that's what I said.
And
That's what I said to you earlier in the week. And I just said, do I think that Houston is a bad team? No. They've got good players, and they could definitely win some games in the playoffs. Can they do it consistently enough to win 4 out of 7 games? They haven't proven they can. They haven't proven they can get to that final stage and get past the Western Conference Finals. And I actually think that their team isn't better than some of the teams that they had previously. So
no.
Even with Westbrook, because I don't like Westbrook in the playoffs, he's always renowned for doing outrageously stupid stuff. And until Westbrook proves otherwise, and Harden proves otherwise, that he can bring it every night, can bring his newfound elite defense 7 games, well, Houston ain't going to do nothing in the playoffs.
I agree. Completely agree. You did stuff up there, though. You did call Westbrook. You know you're
Westbrook.
It's Westbrook, man.
That's right, because he's always finding a way to brick it.
He's the king of bricking. Let's move on to the next thing that fired us up during the week.
You're passionate on this point, and
I'm very passionate. When we're talking about Aussies, I'm passionate.
Yeah, of course.
All right, this week Nick Kyrgios released his Dear Tennis video opting out of the US Open due to coronavirus. All right?
Mind you, I'll just stop you on that point. Nadal just opted out of the US Open as well.
Oh, really? Did he?
Yep, just heard it.
Oh, really? Oh, well, there you go. Anyway, he copped it because he had this... He had a Kobe Bryant-esque video. If you know Kobe Bryant's history, he had the Dear Basketball where he penned the letter to himself, and then he won an Oscar, I'm pretty sure, for it. And Kobe's been a massive influence in Nick Kyrgios's life. So he idolizes him. So that's where he took the inspiration for the video from. The interesting thing was Uninterrupted Media, which is LeBron James's media company, with his longtime friend, Maverick Carter, actually posted it. So they were the one that released the media. And it's a platform where it actually shares empowerment of athletes to go beyond and do things that aren't the norm, like going to play in the US Open. I understand it's a choice. Anyway, he copped the backlash, Sauce, because in there he said, well, he took a shot at the great man Novak Djokovic. So he literally said he wanted people to go there and take the appropriate and safe measures because he wants people to keep their jobs, whether it's in Australia or in America. You know, he's all for everyone keeping their job. The frustrating thing is he made that remark, as I mentioned, to Djokovic because Djokovic did something extremely selfish, which he was during the pandemic. He was in a club dancing on a tabletop, shirtless. You've seen the video. If you haven't seen it, go Google it. He was being a clown. And then he ended up testing positive for the virus. All right. So what he said there is not incorrect. He copped it for that. I'll get on to some of the things that were said about this, which is beyond the joke. He kind of had a crack at a couple of people that ran exhibition games. I think Nadal was one of them. I think Djokovic was another. Dimitrov and Zverev also tested positive by playing in an exhibition game. So he had a crack at that. And that's fine. He said, if you want to go, he goes, I respect that. But he goes, you have to act selflessly. You know, don't go there to play, to break the rules, to act selfishly, to go do what you want just to make a buck. He goes, be responsible. That's pretty much what he's saying. I'll tell you what, this is the problem. Because of his on-court attitude, which I'm not going to sit here and you're going to think, oh, look at Dom. He's condoning Nick Kyrgios in every sense of the word of what he does on the court. No, I don't agree with what Nick does on the court.
He's a lemon on the court.
Yeah. Like, he's got some demons on the court mentally, the way he acts. That's fine. He's got... I don't like that facet of his game. What I do like is his game and his skill in the game. He's a freak. I went and watched him, mate, in January in the Oz Open. The guy's a freak.
He's amazingly talented.
He's making them look like, to quote you, he's making these guys look like lemons, mate, like primary school kids. He's just destroying them. The guy's got the potential. It's just frustrating because if he keeps going down this road, he's not going to live up to it. But he's got the potential easily with Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal on their way out to be a top 5 to the best player in the world with ease. With ease. I don't want to hear people say, oh, no, but that's an overestimation. No, it's not. He's better than all those guys in front of him until he gets to the top 5. He's way better than them. So anyway, he copped it because people have got this perception of Nick Kyrgios as this, all right? There's one show in this country, a news outlet show. There's one, and there's been articles written as well. There's one show on a certain network. The people listening to this that are in Australia know the show, that's got comedians on their panel talking about news and making lightheartedness of news, the serious things, unless it's on their agenda and make you want to believe the agenda that they're going with. We're not bringing politics into this because I don't want to get into... It's just the way that you've created Nick Kyrgios's image is just a disgrace. The perception of him outside, off the court, is he's a brat. He's selfish. He doesn't give a crap about anyone. Let's address this, first of all. Last time I checked, we had a bushfire here in January, which took a massive toll on country Victoria and different parts of the country. Last time I checked, Nick Kyrgios started the Bushfire Relief Fund for the Australian Open. I'm pretty sure that was Nick Kyrgios. It wasn't Roger Federer. It wasn't any other Australian player. It wasn't Nadal. And last time I checked, he got pretty much every single player at the tournament to buy into it with the aces. $1,000 per ace donated. So, yeah, okay, he doesn't care. He's still selfish. Mate, it gets better. I don't know if anyone knows and wants to actually Google Nick Kyrgios, because I did Google Nick Kyrgios, and all that comes up is Brat on the court, Nick Kyrgios' video, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing good unless you go searching. But I know a bit about him because, we like the facts here on Double Coverage. We like the facts. So I delve into it. There's always two sides to every story, not the one that you just fed. As we like to say, we don't like sheep, all right?
We don't like sheep. We don't like sheep on this show.
You got a brain. So the brain gives you the opportunity and the power to go do your own research. You have your own opinion in life, mate. You're not controlled. Ready. He's got the NK Foundation. The Nick Kyrgios Foundation. Oh, wow. He started his own foundation. What does it all mean, you say? Listen to this. His foundation is to help underprivileged kids fulfill their dreams of playing sport. That's what he does. So this selfish person that doesn't care about anyone but himself wants to help underprivileged kids play sport. He wants them to live up to their dream. Yeah? Just wait. Oh, we're going by recency, aren't we? So the bushfire. No, but you tell me, he's been a spud for a couple of years now. He's always been selfish. Oh, I actually had to research to find this. This is why it makes me sick, that I had to actually research to find this information. 2017, he donated $50 an ace to the Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico that ravaged Puerto Rico. You go, $50 an ace. Oh, what's that? What's that out of his kitty? Last time I checked, he actually made a $50 an ace for the entire tennis season, from January to the end of the season, mate. When they're playing exhibitions in early December, the whole year, $50 an ace. He's just new on the tour as well, and he's doing this stuff. Still selfish. You got to give people a go. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to hear this stuff. He was bratty. He was a bit of sass. He took a jab at people. If you actually followed the reason why he's taking jabs at people, because the people that actually broke rules and infected other people through the coronavirus pandemic internationally in Europe were fellow players that play on the tour, and they did stupid stuff, and they were tweeting, "Oh, I'm going out tonight." They didn't care, and they spread it, and then they tested positive. And Nick was just pointing out the facts. They were stupid.
They're being irresponsible.
But because you see this video and you don't like it, how it's portrayed because it's too Hollywood. Okay, he's going to get criticized no matter what he does because you've got this image formulated.
Everyone's got that perception of him, Domma. And
it doesn't matter what he does, Sauce.
Yeah, I understand, but he's brought that perception upon himself a little bit. But this is where you got to give people a fair go. Yeah, like, albeit his actions on the court, we don't condone some of that stuff. You can't deny that the man has a kind heart and does care about people.
He does.
Like, he's using his platform to help others. I don't know what else more you can ask from the guy. Right? But yet he still gets portrayed as like a villain. So it's a tough one.
And like
Domma.
you said, I think he embraces that as well. He actually embraces it because we've actually gone and done the research. That's why we've got the facts. But he embraces the fact that, like, you think I'm a villain, but if you actually do some research, I've got this resume of things that I actually do to help the community, nationally and internationally. I think he's embraced it. Just before, to end off, next time a news outlet wants to have another go at a tennis player that is pulling out of a tournament based on what they think on the court is how they are off the court, all right? Just remember that our tennis champion, who we love because she presents herself really well on the court and off the court, Ash Barty, also pulled out of that tournament And we just said, oh, what a shame. Ash Barty's not playing.
That's true. That is 100% fact.
It's a two-way street.
That's a two-way street.
You know, honestly,
exactly
what it
right,
is
Domma.
they just don't like the fact. They just don't like the fact that he's done it through a big media outlet.
Yeah, I think the way it was portrayed.
And the way he's cracked it at other people and stuff, they just didn't like that. So they defend. Honestly, the way that they're acting is you're defending people that have just done the wrong thing. Basically, the guy that's doing the right thing, you're bagging him and defending people that have done the wrong thing. The people he's having a shot at because you love Djokovic because he's really good on the court, so you love him. So that's what he's like off the court. We're not going to get into it, but I can assure you, what you see on the court with Novak Djokovic, and I know this firsthand from my sources, mate, you are living in this warped reality if you actually think what he is on the court is what he is off the court. Because, my God, if you knew half the stuff I knew, you would be, it would blow your mind. But, you know, source is source. You can't share some stuff sometimes because you keep those sources to yourself. But I'm telling you, a lot more than meets the eye with Mr. Novak. I'll tell you that much.
All right, Domma.
Just give him a go. Just give him a
Give him a go.
Sauce.
That's where we're ending.
Oh.
We're ending on that point. Let's give the bloke a chance. I mean, he's had quite a few, but I think he's done a lot more good than bad.
But
he's done a lot more good than bad, man.
He has. But anyway, what can you do, mate? That's just the way it is. We just share the way we feel. They might look at us and be like, these are the only two blokes that are defending Nick Kyrgios in the whole country. But I'll wear that title, mate. I'll be happy to wear that title.
All right, let's move on.
Facts.
Domma, where are we at now?
Got some news, mate. AFL.
Into some AFL news. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been absolutely wonderful to have a game on every day, or on some days 2 games. It's been interesting. Dom. I'll just scroll down here, and then from when we done our last podcast, we'll run through a few results. So we had last week the Tigers.
So
back
Dogs Richmond.
Dogs Richmond. Richmond got the W. Way too good. Back to some of their best form. Melbourne versus Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, way too good.
Slapped.
Melbourne, where are they at? We don't know.
They just dropped off a cliff.
Where are they at? We really don't know.
They really don't know.
Carlton, Hawthorn, I thought Carlton was a chance to actually get the win. They disappointed in typical Carlton fashion, and Hawthorn bounced back, got the W. Essendon, Brisbane. Brisbane far too good for the Dons. I really think the extended injury list is starting to hurt Essendon, and it's only going to get worse with these short turnarounds. North Melbourne, Adelaide. North Melbourne far too good for Adelaide. Just shows you where Adelaide at this point in time.
Win, mate. We've lost 5 in a row. We're back.
North dropped Ben Brown and Polak, who, Ben Brown probably worse than Polak on the season, but they turned it around and thumped Adelaide. St Kilda got the win over Sydney. St Kilda firming to be definitely a top 4 chance, and seem as though they might actually be the real deal this season. Yeah. West Coast, Geelong. West Coast got the W over in Perth. Close game, that one. But Natanui actually dominated and really showed he's the best ruck in the comp.
Stamped his authority, mate.
Stamped his authority, that's for sure. Gold Coast versus Greater Western Sydney Giants. Giants got the W. Gold Coast, it seems as though they've fallen off a bit from their blistering start, which is probably expected with a bit of a young team, and no one expects them to actually do anything this season. So I would think up to this point they've actually overachieved, and they keep going on this point. And maybe they just miss out on finals, but win a few games. I think it will be very good for their confidence going forward. And you had Fremantle versus Collingwood. Fremantle got the chocolates over Collingwood, bit of an upset. Was over there in Perth, but I definitely tipped Collingwood, thinking they'd have too much firepower. I don't know where Collingwood's at the moment. They seem to be struggling. One week they're playing good, one week they're not playing good. They really need
Definitely
to
are.
stop the slow starts, which seem to be hurting them. Then we move on to this week's round of games. So we've already had 2 games go past, which is Port Adelaide versus Western Bulldogs. Let me just tell you, that was an ugly game. Doggies could have quite easily had a lead at halftime, but they weren't able to capitalise on their chances, and Port Adelaide came out in the second half and were definitely a better team. It's a game of 2 halves where Port Adelaide showed that you need to play 4 quarters to get the chocolates. Richmond versus Brisbane. Richmond, top of the 4 clash, thinking it was going to be a tight one, but Richmond really showed why they're the reigning premiers and still the team to beat in the comp.
Brisbane's kicking did not help them though, Sauce, last night.
Well, I was going to just let me get to that point, Tom. Let me get to that point. You've jumped ahead. You've jumped ahead and really stolen some of me thunder. Oh shit! All right.
Apologies, big fella.
Nah, that's all right, mate. All good. So we'll just move on. So we'll just have a brief look at some of the. Actually opened up the incorrect browser. Okay. Right, so we'll go, and once again, nice one. There we go. All right. So as we said, we thought there'd be quite a few injuries, and I'm scrolling through the injury list at the moment, and there seems to be quite a few teams with lengthy injury lists, close to nearly double digits. One team actually on double digits, and I can see why the Roo Boys are actually struggling. You've got quite a fair few good players out. So,
well, we can add another one to that Sauce because
here we go.
Currently North is playing Geelong. They're getting done. They're getting beaten by, I think, 27 points. But Ben Brown went up for his first contest. He had a heavily strapped knee going into the game, went up for a contest and landed awkwardly, and he was ruled out with a knee injury. We don't know what it is, if it's an ACL or it's we have no idea. He got up, he looked terrible getting up, like a lot of pain when he's trying to pull weight on it. So make that 12, mate, on that list. I think he's set for another lengthy sideline. I just still don't understand why a team, not just being North, because it is my side, but a team heavily strapping someone's knee coming into a game, like obviously he's a bit
is he coming underdone? First contest, and he's busted it.
Well, we've done that. We've got
done it. You're renowned for it. You did it to Cunnington.
We've got a track record this season. Zeeble, Cunnington. That's 3 of our elite players now. Like, I don't know.
What's he thinking down there, Reece Shaw?
I don't know. We're usually notorious for helping players that are injury prone, nursing them to become consistent footballers, like stringing games along without getting injured and preventing injuries. And I don't know what's happened this year. Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway, that just to add to that list, mate, that's another one.
And, you've got the Swannies got quite a few injuries. Eagles, Doggies. I mean, the injuries are starting to pile up. You've got the Tigers, they're still waiting on Prestia to come back, still waiting on Hawley. You've got Cody, who's there still out. Shane Edwards out indefinitely. And then move on to someone like Port Adelaide, where I think Stevie Motlop might have rolled his ankle or something like that. So I'm not sure.
He did. It didn't look good when he did it.
Yeah.
Either.
So
I think that TBC next to his name could be a while.
Yeah. So we don't know what's happened with Stevie Motlop down at Port Adelaide, but it didn't look too good. We'll have to wait for a couple of tests. And then obviously, anyone who wants to look up the North Melbourne injury list, they've actually been decimated. So I can see why they're really, really struggling. You take some of your best players. I mean, it's happened to Essendon. Take some of our best players out of the side, and where your depth is starting to get tested with all these short turnarounds, it really shows up who actually has the best list and not just the best 22. So it's absolutely pivotal for teams to invest in their list and not just their best 25 players, but more like a best 30 or 34 players.
Yeah, correct.
Because I think how many
Let's
on
look
the
at
list? 40 on the list, I'm pretty sure.
40 on the list. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
But the interesting thing, Adelaide is that bad that they only have 4 injuries in their team. So that just shows how bad their depth is.
well,
at
it
the
shows
moment
because
at
they
the
don't
club.
commit to the ball. Don't lay
They're
enough tackles,
struggling.
don't get hard enough.
They've been, but they were really good a couple of weeks ago, where they lost by 4 points. They were awesome at the ball. The week
I've
before
watched
they
them a few
played
games.
us.
Let me just tell you, they're at the point where they're just frustrating, where they can put good moments of play together, but then they can just do things where they're going forward and to make a simple 20-meter kick or 15-meter, 20-meter hit-up pass to just get the mark and settle down, they miss that target. And then they get killed so much on the rebound. They miss that target and they just get destroyed. Like someone go have a look at I haven't looked into the stats, but this is just from what I've looked at. And they just fail to make the simple pass or the simple handball, which then in turns is a turnover and just going back the other way. They just get killed. I mean, they could have beaten Essendon when we played them. They probably should have, but they kept us in the game. How much they kept turning over the ball, especially going forward through the midfield. They would just turn it over. So Adelaide as a team, man, I don't know where they're at. Are they well and truly into a rebuild? I think so.
I'm going to say yes.
I think so. It's sad to say because not that long ago they were making finals and grand
you
finals.
just lock them in. They were literally just a lock every year to play finals. You're like, yeah, they'll play finals this year. They're that good.
Yeah.
But now they're just falling off a cliff. That loss to Richmond in the 17 grand final was 17? Yeah, 17 grand final has just, I don't know, they had that really bad off season when they went on that camp.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. It put a bad taste in a lot of players' mouth. But single-handedly, Richmond won a flag that year and single-handedly destroyed the Adelaide Football Club in the process of doing it.
It's been the well-known and talked about thing, Domma. It's been interesting to hear the true facts.
100%.
We don't still know 100%.
No, we don't.
We'll move on to Brisbane. One good thing for them is they don't have many injuries. They've only got 2 on the injury list at the moment. Another one to add, Cam Rayner. Seems as though he might have done something and he might be out for a few weeks. When I watched the game, he did come off and ice up early. So other than that, they really haven't got many injuries. But on that point before, what you were talking about for Domma, which was their kicking really hurt them, we seen this was an issue last year. We've seen this. We know Brisbane, they can stick with the best teams. There was games last season where they had something similar where they would be in games, they would.
There was a game last season. I'm pretty sure they kicked 24 behinds in the game.
They'd shoot themselves in the foot just by not converting chances. Like I'm just trying to get up the stats here because I looked at these earlier today, right? So last night, Richmond had 44 inside 50s. Brisbane had 40. But, right, inside 50s per goal, 3.67 for Richmond, 10 for Brisbane. But, Domma, Brisbane had 21 scoring shots to 22.
Mate,
So it wasn't a matter of that they couldn't get the ball into their forward line. It was a matter that they couldn't convert.
Correct.
And this is the same what happened last year. I'm pretty sure it happened in a game against Richmond last year as well. Is it going to be their downfall going forward in this season? Because they're definitely going to make the 8. Or definitely going to make finals. Potentially make the 4.
They should make a prelim, really, the footy that they're playing.
can they convert? Are they going to be like the Collingwood team from years back that were renowned for the collywobbles, where they just couldn't convert? They dominated, but they just couldn't convert. And at the end of the day, that's the aim of the game, to put the ball between the big sticks. And if you can't do that, which is
You can't win, mate.
the number one thing you need to do in the game, you can't win games.
Correct.
So that's where I'm at
I'm
with
with
Brisbane.
you.
I really love them as a team. Like, I mean, they got outplayed last night at times. Dustin Martin just dominated. The guy's a freak, just does freakish things. I can have a look more at the stats for you, but they really didn't get overly dominated. But
I've got a couple here for you.
Their unwillingness to be able to convert chances.
I've got a couple here to actually point out their poor kicking. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, in 5 games this year, they've had 10 or more behinds kicked. So against West Coast, they kicked 10 goals, 14. Adelaide, they were 10 goals, 23 behinds, and they smashed them.
Jesus.
Mind you, they could have won by 120 points. Port Adelaide, they kicked 12-13. It's not too bad. Melbourne, they were 7 goals, 11. They won that game, but they made it closer than it had to be. They had 5 extra scoring shots, and they only won by 5 points. And then, obviously, last night's game where they kicked 4 goals, 17 behinds is what they lost to. You think about it, even if they kicked 4 goals, 13, 4 more goals, at least it's a lot closer than 41 points. Like, I don't know. It is a problem, and they've got to fix it.
It's a big problem. It is a big problem. All right, Domma. We'll cover just one last team that I'm thinking of, which is the team that is sitting atop of the ladder, Port Adelaide. Injury list looking good. Not too many. Watched a little bit of them. Seems as though they've fixed a few of their issues what they had last season, which was they didn't seem to know what they were doing when they were going forward.
Well, it's good. Well, Charlie Dixon's playing really well.
Then I was about to say, it really helps that Charlie Dixon's picked up his play. He seems as though he wants to be the number one forward down there. He's contesting. The guy brings the ball to ground, gives the smalls a chance. And we know AFL these days is a lot about, we've gone past the days where we've got the Matthew Lloyds that lead up in the ball, the Favolas. Back in the day you had Plugger, Tony Lockett, who's big lead up forward, Dunstall. Those days are gone. Your forward these days has got to be able to push up the ground, get involved up the ground, then be able to push back and then potentially lead up the ball. Then when the play is slow, he's got to be able to get into a good spot, make himself available for the kick inside 50 and bring the ball to ground. And it seems as though Charlie Dixon's really, brought this into his game and made sure that he's always contesting at every point. So I think
looking strong. They've got a
they're
good
looking
back line
strong,
as well
man.
with Jonas and Cleary as well back there. Their midfield's one of a kind with Rockcliffe and Watt.
We questioned where they were at, Port Adelaide. What were they doing? Getting rid of Wingard. Who has the other players?
Yeah.
They got rid of another Polak. And we're just thinking, maybe you should have kept those players. But, what do we know? He's turned it around. The coach, what's his name? What's the coach's name?
No, I've gone blank too. But they picked up Dersma, Butters, and Rosie, which have all become something. That's like the odds of you getting 3 picks like young kids and them developing and actually being something is very rare.
Hinkley.
And Ken Hinkley, that's the one. Yeah. But they've done a good job. Like they got those young they got the mixture of young and old. And and we've seen in the past that really can be the recipe to win a premiership. So
yeah, we've seen it with Hawthorn.
the other positive The other positive thing that's working in their favour is obviously these games are playing interstate, so they're getting a lot more games in Adelaide. So
Yeah.
they really can only play in 3 locations now, with Sydney being closed down. They didn't want any more games there because of COVID. Melbourne's out. So the games are only going to be played in South Australia, Western Australia, and Queensland, because Tasmania said we don't want any games because they don't want people to come into the state. So they're going to get a lot more games in Adelaide. And if they have to travel, yeah, all right, it's to Brisbane or Perth. But they don't. One thing they probably shouldn't have to worry about is literally wet weather. So
I know.
it works in their favour too. It's
Works in
always
their
hot.
favour. That's what I'm saying. They're sitting good. They're 8-2, top of the ladder.
Yeah.
There's nothing saying that they can't finish top 2 from this point. So their injury list is looking good. You know, we know this is a very tricky section moving through these 5 days breaks. So I'm liking the way that they're tracking along, and Ken Hinkley's playing a nice brand of footy. I mean, against Western Bulldogs, they didn't play the best game, but sometimes that's when you're on the up and you're an improving team and you're winning games consistently. Sometimes you win those games where you don't play your best, and that's just because you're in that sort of winning momentum, that winning culture, which they didn't have last year. You know, they were in the dumps. They looked like they were going to be a bottom 4 side. You know, terrible, and they've turned it around. And like we've seen, it just takes a couple moves, a bit of good coaching, and teams can turn around in 12 months. Like, I mean, Brisbane
100%.
did it, Port Adelaide did it. You know, teams are now getting smarter, and coaches. I mean, let me just say, Ken Hinkley's earned his worth. I think they're debating whether they want to give him another contract. They're going to wait till the end of the season. But let me just tell you, if he makes it to top 4, they should just give him another contract, because
100%.
You know, finding a top 4 caliber coach is quite difficult.
The young kids are good, so they're going to be good for a while. So that's a positive.
Got that good balance.
Exactly.
All right.
Awesome.
So last on the agenda for AFL is we'll just go through the upcoming games. Domma, we're just going to go through. Give us a quick tip. You give me. I'll run through. You give us a quick tip. Who you think's going to win?
My tipping's terrible, by the way, but I'll have a crack.
All right. So
we'll put our tips on our social, actually. So if you want to do the tip source, we'll do them from Friday's game onwards, so we can put something out.
All right.
Friday morning.
Friday's game. All right, so we won't tip on those 2.
All right. Let's go. Let's see how we go here.
All right. So Friday's game, Friday night, Essendon, GWS, Metricon Stadium.
GWS.
Yep, they'll flog us. Port Adelaide, Richmond.
Where's that? Adelaide?
Adelaide.
I'm going Port. I'm just
Saturday
going
night.
I'm
Saturday
going Port.
Afternoon. He's going with the home team.
You taking Port?
I'm going to go with the reigning premiers. I'm going Richmond.
All right. Bang. Richmond.
All right. We've got Brisbane Bulldogs. Is that the Gabba?
Brisbane.
I'm Brisbane too. West Coast and Carlton. Optus Stadium. Coasters.
Come on, that's a bye for them. West Coast, mate. They're just funny. They're unbelievable.
North Melbourne. Your boy's going to win. I actually think.
Where is it? We got robbed,
down at
mate.
Bloodstone.
No, that's been changed. It's not at Blundstone anymore because Tasmania don't want any more games. I think that's going to be played in bloody Queensland now. We got robbed.
Ah, you've been robbed. I think just because you love Bloodstone Arena. You're like a fortress down there.
We've lost 2 of our Tassie games that were meant to be played there. Now they're getting played in Queensland or South Australia or West. I don't even know. Anyway,
all right. I'm still going with North. I don't believe in Melbourne.
I'm going to tip against our boys. I'm going Melbourne. I reckon too many injuries.
St Kilda, the Gabba.
I'm going St Kilda.
Fremantle, Hawthorn.
Who are you going?
I'm going Freo. I'm going Freo. It's over
in the Saints Geelong.
Saints Geelong. I'm going Geelong.
All right. I'm also going Freo in that next game.
I'm going to go Freo. Adelaide Collingwood.
Come on. Might as well call that the toilet bowl. Both teams are terrible.
All right. You know who I'm going to pick. I'm definitely picking Collingwood. I've watched
But if they
Adelaide.
lose
They
to
just suck
Adelaide-
so bad. If Collingwood
Yeah,
actually loses to Adelaide, they might as well write their season off right now.
Well,
So
Melbourne's
they better
Melbourne's
hope they
playing
win.
Adelaide right now, and if Adelaide beats Melbourne as we're talking right now, Goodwin should lose his job. But if that happens, we'll talk about it in the next podcast next week. But anyway, yeah,
All right. And
is that it?
last, which is Wednesday, the 12th of August, Gold Coast, Essendon, Metricon. I'm going to back in the Dons. I reckon we'll have back.
Yeah, I'm
a few
going
players by
Dons.
then.
I'm going
I'm
Dons.
backing in the Dons.
Bang, perfect. There we go.
All right.
Got some tips.
Let's on to the next one, Domma.
Some F1.
Lead the way, brother.
Oh, we'll get through this. This one, it was awesome, man. Great race. We had Silverstone on Sunday that just passed. Lewis Hamilton won the race without, like, in dramatic fashion, might I say. So he was comfortably in front. Bottas was comfortably second. Verstappen was comfortably going to finish third. Sainz was probably going to finish fifth or sixth, depending on how his pace was going towards the end of the race. What happened in the last? What transpired in the last 6 laps of that race? Bottas' tyre deflated on lap 50, which is 2 laps before it ended. Cost him second spot. He fell out of the top 10. He couldn't get back in before the end of the race. Lost championship points. Carlos Sainz, tyre deflated, costing him 4th spot, which is a couple of laps earlier. Fell outside championship points. Couldn't make it back up. Hamilton, his tyre deflated halfway through the final lap of the race.
I was watching
with a
this.
34-second lead over Max Verstappen. He beat Verstappen over the line with 4 seconds left. If it was 2 turns earlier, Sauce, Verstappen would have passed him. 2 turns earlier.
What were they doing?
It was-
Why didn't they beat him?
Oh,
They had time to pit him, and they said, no, we're
they
not
did.
going to make it.
They essentially, with 30 seconds, had a free pit because it takes about 23 seconds to get through the pit, get your
If we
tyres
had
on.
fresh tyres, he would have smashed him by 10 plus seconds.
Yeah. He had a free pit. He chose not to, and he drove the last 4 corners or 5 corners.
You know what he hasn't seen it? Just go look it up. The
As
guy
I
ends on a
mentioned-
flat tyre.
As I mentioned last week, it's not always the car. The driver makes a big difference. He's a freak of a driver, and it was just proven there. He was driving with essentially 3 wheels. His front left was locking up on turns, and he's just jamming this thing around the corner. It was unbelievable to watch. But like Sauce just said, he crossed the line with a oh, it was unbelievable. It was
I've
great.
never
It was
seen anything
great.
like it.
But it was great though. Like that's what you want in racing, really. Just a bit of drama. Like he's got this mythology around him, Hamilton. It's like he can't be beaten. He can't be beaten, and he has that much luck. He still won, but it actually gave viewers hope. Like, oh, he'll lose this now. He can't win from here. Surely not. Surely this guy can't lose. But
Yeah,
he
it's
was
funny
that
how people look at that perspective, you know?
Yeah.
They want him,
It's
they want him to
and-
now lose.
Even Lewis said, he goes, I've never had anything like this happen in my career post-race. And he goes, I actually felt calm driving. Whether you take that as arrogant or not, I don't. I genuinely would have thought, yeah, he's such a winner that he knows what he has to do to get the car home safely and win the race. And he did, which was awesome. So we'll give you a bit of a rundown before I get into some records that Lewis Hamilton's actually starting to break now, and they're going to start falling a lot quicker over the next next 10 weeks of racing. So the top 10 in that was Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc, Ricciardo, the Aussie, 4th, Lando Norris, my boy, 5th, Esteban Ocon, 6th, Pierre Gasly, 7th, Alexander Albon, 8th, Lance Stroll, 9th, Sebastian Vettel was 10th, and held off Bottas on the last couple laps from actually getting back into
Danny
the points.
Ricciardo, commendable 4th.
Yeah, I was great. He was fantastic. He drove really, really well. You should.
I mean, his car
be
finally
very,
didn't
very-
break down for a race.
Yeah, correct. even if he did, if Sainz and Bottas tires both didn't deflate, I still think he would have passed Sainz anyway to finish 5th. He was driving that well. It just helped. To finish 6th at the time. It just helped at the fact that the tires popped, I guess. Then the World Championship rankings, Hamilton's now extended by 30 points over Bottas, who's in 2nd with 58, Verstappen 3rd, Norris 4th, Leclerc 5th, Albon 6th, Perez 7th, Stroll, Ricciardo, and Sainz round out the top 10. Constructors, Mercedes are comfortably in front on 146 points, followed by Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, Racing Point, Renault, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo on 2, Haas on 1, and Williams with the big donut of 0. So, coming back to Hamilton quickly, just before we move on, Hamilton broke the record for most wins at a home Grand Prix of all time with 7. He broke the record held by Alain Prost of 6 French Grand Prix. So he's now won the most home Grand Prix of a driver. He also broke the record for the most races led from start to finish ever with 20. Surpassing Ayrton Senna's 19. So he's in rare air here. The driver, Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna.
That's elite company, let me tell you.
It's not like some rubbish stat where it's like, oh, this guy just was lucky and he led from start to finish. These guys that lead from start to finish are like legends and greatest of all time type drivers, like Hall of Famers for F1. He's now got 87. He had his 87th career win. He's only 4 behind Michael Schumacher's 91 wins, which is the most ever by a driver. He's also now 1 behind equaling Michael Schumacher for podium finishes in his career.
And
Schumacher has 155 podium finishes. Lewis Hamilton has 154. And I'm telling you, the guy's not slowing down anytime soon. So all these records are going to be smashed.
They are going to be a distant memory. He's going to put past...
Demolish.
He's going to demolish him. Yes, exactly.
Well, he's already going to smash his home Grand Prix one because this week we've got another race. It's in Britain again. Like I mentioned last week, it's a back-to-back in Britain. So he's technically got 2 home races in a row. If he wins this week, he extends that record to 8 now. And he's already in rare air. And the odds of that getting broken, if he wins, I'm not saying he's going to. Anything can happen. He was lucky to win on the weekend, but that's 8 if he can win that. And that's going to be very, very, very hard for anyone to catch in their career.
Yeah, so, I think so.
Well done to Lewis Hamilton, in all honesty, and fantastic driver.
You preach how much of a freak he is, Domma. I think, he might be on one of those sort of sporting stars that we don't really truly appreciate, or some people don't truly appreciate it until he's gone. And
that's correct.
You're looking for that next Lewis Hamilton, but there's never quite someone that lives up to that potential.
The sport's very good at the moment with young guys, but whether those young guys develop, it all depends on how well they're driving now. Because then you need the big 3 in Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes to hopefully give them contracts down the track to help them progress and become pure greats, really. So, like I've said already, Lando Norris, my boy, I am tipping to be one of those drivers because he's very, very talented, and he drives for McLaren, which are doing very well. So we'll move on, mate. A bit of UFC news.
Yes, let's do it, Domma. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we had... I want to talk about the Contender Series that's going on at the moment in UFC, which is, Dana White does a Contender Series where he gets all the, prospects that potentially are fighting for a contract in the UFC. We'll just go over the main stuff. So we had the card last Sunday, I think Saturday in the US, Sunday in Australia. UFC Fight Night, Brunson versus Shabazian. We had definitely won't go through the prelim fights, but we'll go through the main card. Lando Venuto defeated Bobby Green, and you had. Hang on, wait. Did Bobby Green win? I think I've cocked that one up already, Domma.
Oh no.
Here we go.
No.
Final decision. Oh, this is a great start to my first UFC segment, let me tell you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I've cocked that one up. Well, let's
Don't worry, mate. That's what editing's for.
not at all. This is 100% staying in. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I've definitely cocked that one up. We've got Bobby Green defeated Lando Venuto in a decision by the judges. Vincent Luque defeated Randy Brown. Jennifer Meyer defeated Joanna Calderwood. And Derek Brunson, the main event, defeated Edmund Shabazian with a TKO knockout. There was another fight meant to be on the card, Domma, but had to be cut short, or not cut short. The guy actually fainted on his way to the ring to fight. So, I think it was Giles. So, yeah, he's there's a bit of a, there's always discussion over the weight cutting within the UFC where guys actually literally dehydrate themselves and cut so much weight just so they can make fighting weight, and then essentially because they weigh the day before, they then go eat a shitload of food and put a whole bunch of kilos on. And the weight, what they're showing is not actually their true weight. So it's a bit of a grey area in the UFC. Some people want it fixed, and as you can see, it really does affect fighters. And you've got fighters, literally fainting before a fight just to try and make the weight. So on that note, I really only went over the Vincent Luque fight against Randy Brown and Derek Brunson against Edmund Shabazian. Let me just say, Vincent Luque really we'll go over that fight first. Vincent Luque really broke down Randy Brown nicely in the first round. He attacked his front leg and broke it down. Kept hacking away at it. When you'd think that Randy Brown would have the advantage, you look at these two fighters, but you'd expect Randy Brown to use his reach and ability, but Vincent Luque just hacked down that front leg, took out the reach of ability, which stopped him from being able to move around quickly and jump off that front leg. Then he was able to get some nice big shots in. Not like he didn't take any shots. He took some big shots from Brown, but Luque was able to eat those shots and just keep moving forward. And then he ended up getting the finish where Brown started to become a bit too conscious of those kicks, and Luque was able to land a few more big shots, got him up against the fence, and ended up finishing it when Brown tried to make a rookie error and tried to reach towards the ground. And when in the UFC, if your hands are on the ground, the opponent can't kick or knee you in the head. But if your hands are not on the ground, they can still kick or knee you in the head. So he tried to reach to the ground, so obviously he couldn't try and knee him or kick him while he was up against the cage. And by reaching to the ground, he left himself open because Luque lifted his head up and kneed him straight to the side of the head, and then finished him off with a following right hands, which the referee called the fight. This was a good win for Luque because it moved him up one rank in the ranking. So he was ranked 11th in the welterweight division, where Kamaru Usman is the champ, and he rolled up to 10. Brown was sort of on the verge of getting into the top 15, but he was obviously that's going to set him back a little bit. So the other main fight that I followed was Derek Brunson versus Shabazian. Let me just tell you, when that fight, you look at going into that fight, Shabazian 11-0 going in, heavy favorite. I think Brunson was paying 4-1 to win. Bookies didn't give him anything. But there's one thing you need to realize about the UFC. Like, anything can happen once you walk to that ring. The odds mean nothing. You know, it just takes one good shot, he lands it on that chin, makes that guy a bit wobbly, and, you know, he's lost his perception for the rest of the fight. He's not quite the fighter he was without copying that big shot. Derek Brunson looked like in the first round he was getting definitely out fought. Shabazian landing some big shots. You know, he was looking to land those body kicks. He landed a couple of nice ones. But credit to Derek Brunson, the wily old veteran. He came out, I think he's 36 and Shabazian's 22. He came out in the second round and just, you know, he started to show a few of these signs in the first round, but he came out in the second round and just absolutely demolished Shabazian. Like, he cleaned him up. I'll just give you a few stats. So over the bout, total strikes landed 107 Brunson, 38 Shabazian. That ain't a whopping, I don't know what is.
Wow.
Significant strikes, 88 to 35. And then it just goes on and on from there. He's landed more strikes to the head. He didn't land less strikes to the body, but landed more strikes to the legs. And he just pretty much dominated the fight. After the first round, where you could have argued Shabazian might have had that round, it was all Brunson's fight, and it just proved once he was able to get the TKO and potentially could have had the TKO at the end of the second round when he was on top, grounding and pounding, and Shabazian was saved by the bell. But, you know, 25 seconds into the third round, Brunson finished the job, and he himself said in an interview after that he had a bit of a chip on his shoulder. You know, Brunson has defeated some decent opponents in the UFC, so he shouldn't be taken lightly. And sometimes these veterans, they've been in the game a lot longer. They show up these young guys, and it puts into perspective. You know, Shabazian probably would have been thinking, you know, 11-0, potentially come here, get 12-0. Let's beat this, you know, veteran bum and get out of here. But, you know, it's put some honesty back towards Shabazian. So, but yeah, it was awesome. An interesting fight card. They were the two main fights that I followed, and we've got another big fight card coming up this weekend. I'll mention a few of the key fights. I won't go over them all, but I mean, we'll just so. Got the prelim fights. I won't look too much into those. You've got in the lightweight division, Benil Darush versus Scott Holtzman, and the women's bantamweight, Yana Kunitska versus Yulia Stodorenko. Middleweight, Makai Pitulo versus Darren Stewart. Middleweight, again, Omari, this is a Russian name, I have no idea how to say this, Ahmedov versus Chris Weidenben. And, of course, the main event, Big Derek Lewis versus Aleksei Olenek. I think
it's Olenek.
Olenek, yeah. There we go. Hey, these names are hard to say, but definitely looking forward to the Derek Lewis fight. You know, it'll be an interesting one. He's always entertaining. Love watching heavyweights, as anything can happen. The big, heavy hands, that when they get flying, they're always entertaining. Should be an interesting card coming up. I think that's definitely the biggest fight that I'm looking forward to, and then probably maybe the undercard fight, the two undercard fights between Marky Pitolo and Darren Stewart, and Mari Mekadov and Chris Weidman. So should be an interesting card. People tune in this weekend. we'll see what happens. And let me tell you, Lewis is always entertaining. So
He is.
that's
He
definitely
is.
one you need to tune in for.
Definitely. Very nice. Well, started a bit shaky there, mate. But yeah,
Started a bit shaky. Let me tell you, that was there was no start.
well, at least we'll get through this one with
Finish
ease.
strong.
I'm going
Finish
to
strong.
say I don't want to jinx it, but we'll get through the soccer stuff with ease, mate. It's our bread and butter. Bit of news, mate. Transfer news. My boys, Man
Speak
United.
to me.
The reports are trying to get Kasper Schmeichel to get down to the club as a keeper.
One season, De Gea's the best goalkeeper in the league. The next season, you want to replace him. What's happened?
I don't know. There's always something. The other thing is that Jadon Sancho deal has been reported to be 5 years, £250,000 a week. The only thing holding that deal at the moment is the £120 million transfer fee. So United is trying to negotiate a cheaper fee. I don't know how much you're going to get him less for, but he'd be a great addition to the club.
How much did Neymar go for in Mbappe?
Oh,
Is he better? Is he better than Mbappe?
No.
I'm pretty sure Mbappe went for around about that much.
He kicks a lot of goals though, and he's a playmaker. It's what United need.
Would you be happy to have him?
Yeah, 100%. I'll take him, man. I'll take anyone.
I mean,
really.
they are touting him as the next, big English talent.
He's gonna be all right. He'll fit in perfectly with the system that we've got going there, and Bruno Fernandes he's a freak, mate. He's just in control of absolutely everything in that team at the moment and on the field. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hasn't actually done a bad job. I was skeptical, but he's proven me wrong. The other thing was Alexis Sanchez now has officially been transferred to Inter, so they own him now. It's not a loan. So we pulled the pin on that. I think that was also so we could make a bit of money to probably put towards this Sancho deal. The other report, our mate Saucey, Gareth Bale, has decided he's probably going to stay at Madrid. So we got our hopes up last week. We said that we really want to see him play. He's talented. It shouldn't be wasted by sitting on the bench. But unless he's going to change his attitude, we're going to enjoy seeing him sitting on the bench again for another season. So that'd be great. Another wasted year in what
must
could
really
have been,
like that Spanish paella.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, he must love it. Too bad he can't actually speak Spanish because he refuses to learn it. So I don't know how he orders it. He must go to the board and say, "Oh, paella, how much?" That's the only way he does it because he refuses to learn Spanish. Potato, absolute potato. The other news, which is really interesting, we mentioned last week Lovren and Lallana leaving Liverpool, and we said it on the show that we're like, oh, they'll probably just replace them with role players, probably no one too big of name. And reports are Liverpool actually looking at centre mid Thiago Alcantara from Bayern Munich. So we've gone from role player to a gun. If they get him,
I will say on another note, and I did share this on our Twitter page. They are looking at buying a left back from. Now I did share that, so let me just. They are looking at buying a left back from Norwich for only 10 mil as backup for Andy Robertson, Liverpool.
Okay.
So I mean, he's always got his slight little guys that he's been keeping his eye on. He's renowned for picking up guys at a reasonable price that end up turning to be either serviceable players or above average and decent players. Yeah. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried on that front.
Yeah. The other thing that you noted here was Willian. He's not looking to sign with Chelsea, as they want to give 31-year-old a 2-year deal, and he wants a 3-year deal. Both your boys Arsenal and Tottenham are looking to pick him up.
They're
He
looking
wants
to
stay
swoop
in London.
because he reports that he actually wants to stay in London. So yeah, they gonna swoop down.
It actually would not be a bad get for Arsenal.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad get, but let me just tell you, you ain't gonna fix what happens in our defense.
Yeah, terrible. The other one was Man City signed Ferran Torres from Valencia, which was a really, really good get.
Yeah, that's a nice pickup. Only cost him 20 million. A lot of potential, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Develop him a bit. Essentially, turns out to be a half-decent player. Worst comes to worst, they sell him again. Maybe they'll lose a couple million. I don't think they would even lose anything. I think under Pep's system, learning from such a gun coach, he's only going to get better. The guy was clocked at the fastest speed in La Liga this season. I stand to be corrected, but I did think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, I did read that too.
The guy's a jet. So let's see whether he can break his way into those wings with Sane and Mahrez. They've got quite a stacked wing area, so it'll be interesting to see how he does.
Yeah, definitely. Bit of Champions League news. What's today's the 5th, Friday. We've got a couple games here in Australia. Around the world could be on Thursday. But we've got the round of 16, which was actually stopped halfway through due to coronavirus.
Which I wasn't aware of last week.
Yeah, which we've done a bit of a rundown because we just want to explain the teams that are already in the quarterfinals. Those teams are Atalanta, Leipzig, PSG, and Atletico. We did mention last week Liverpool's in. They are not. They are out alongside Dortmund, Tottenham, and Valencia. So the games we've got this week, yeah, that's all good, mate. All good. The games this week are Man City, Madrid, Juventus, Lyon, Barcelona, Napoli, Bayern Munich, and Chelsea. So they're the games. The interesting thing about Champions League, we're actually going to be treated here to an absolute delight. So we've got the rest of the final 16 games on Friday and Saturday. Then the quarterfinals are going to be played on the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, the following week. The week after that, the semi-finals are going to be played on the 18th and 19th. And the week after that, mate, we've got the final on the 23rd of August.
And then on the 21st of September, the Premier League is back.
I know. It's coming very, very quickly.
Yeah,
it's great.
Look, we've gone without sports for so long that now the seasons are now rolling into each other that sports is going to go and come back straight away. How good is that, ladies and gentlemen?
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. So, yeah, that's some good stuff there, which is awesome coming up and give us a bit to talk about with the matchups and results there. The last thing, which is interesting, we mentioned last week that the Ballon d'Or got cancelled for this year. Reports coming out of France, Saucy, is that because there's no Ballon d'Or this year, they want to do, quote, the GOAT 11, the greatest 11 footballers to ever set foot on a pitch. They want to create the team. I'll tell you what, this, without a doubt, will spark some massive debates in soccer circles around the world. Massive. Depending on who they decide that goes in there, it's going to be huge. My opinion is they pick the 11, but then they also pick the bench players that go with that 11. For the fact of the matter that 11 players, as good as they are, probably wouldn't play out the full 90 minutes. So I'd rather have more in there than less. I'd like to see like 16. Your thoughts around that, Sauce? Would you prefer the 16? I'd like to have more.
I think at least 5 on the bench. At least.
Yeah.
5 on the bench, no goalkeeper on the bench. Or 5 players.
And a manager. Ferguson. That's it. I've already picked it for you there. For the French that are picking the team, it's Sir Alex Ferguson. It's not that hard. I'll also pick your your goalkeeper, and your centre back. So Buffon as the goalkeeper and Maldini will be your centre back. You can put whoever else you want in the team. Those are three other locks from me, in my opinion. We will come up with closer to this actual event. If it goes ahead,
I'll come up with mine. Domma will come up with his, and we'll go from there. We won't discuss it. We'll discuss it on the show. Potentially
Definitely.
when we'll come up with it ready to go, and then obviously the leagues they're going to come up with theirs, and then we'll discuss what we've got. And what they've got.
We'll definitely pick our own, and then once it comes time, we will share it on the show and share it on our socials. Getting into now, just a bit of a recap of. I know we covered some stuff at the beginning about Houston, so I'm not really looking to get into them, but some NBA stuff from the week. A few of the big teams like Boston started a bit slow. Jason Tatum didn't look himself, and then he got a fresh haircut, and he was back to himself, according to another useless stat that I've seen
he's
during
top
the week.
5 in the league when he gets a haircut, apparently.
Yeah, it's another great stat that we can pencil in because that's what I want to know. That's just great. So next time he plays crap, I'll just say, get a haircut and you'll be good. So, yeah, another useless piece of rubbish of a stat. But they looked all right. They lost this morning to the Heat. It was a good win by Miami, actually.
No buckets.
No Jimmy buckets. And Dragic did get hurt at the start of the fourth or midway through the fourth. So he actually sat out. Thankfully, came back negative, not positive. So he might have a little bit of a stint on the sideline, a couple games. Let's just talk about one man at the moment, John. Saucy, there's one man. The GOAT of the bubble. He plays for the Indiana Pacers. He's the next Michael Jordan of the bubble. TJ Warren. The man.
Can I just tell you, Domma, his cards have gone bananas on the market. His cards.
What is going on?
People are thinking this guy's the second coming of Michael Jordan or something. I don't bloody know.
I don't know.
You couldn't give his card to someone to light their cigarette if it was on fire. And now they're flying out of eBay. Like his card's gone from a couple bucks to, I don't know. Oh, you know what? I'm going to look it up for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Look it up. I'll keep running through this, but look that up. But they've done really well. Obviously, without Sabonis, as we mentioned last week, they've picked up a bit of the slack there. Oladipo's playing, which is awesome. But yeah, very interesting. TJ Warren stepped up. I think he's averaging 40 in the bubble. So he's playing really well. Miami, as we touched on, playing pretty well. They've won
TJ Warren base card, prison. Is selling for $50 US.
Give me a spell, mate. What was he worth before that?
I'll scroll back, but I don't think I'll be able to get that far.
No,
I can't get that far. All I know, his cards were less than $5.
Yeah, well, I believe it. I completely believe that.
His cards were less than $5, and now they're $50. Apparently, people think this guy's Michael Jordan or something.
I don't know.
He goes off for 2 good games. Guys, you need to realize they're missing 2 of their best players that would take a bunch of shots. Someone's got to take the shots. And it's TJ Warren. So that's why he's getting this many points. He's a role player at best. He would be a 3rd guy on a championship team. He wouldn't even be a 2nd guy. He's not even a 2nd on a good team. So someone's got to take the shots. I mean, good on TJ Warren for making the shots.
Honestly,
it seems to be that
100%.
the depth possession with the rings, what they've been talking about, seems to be really helping him because the guy's hardly ever averaged over 30% shooting from 3 his whole career. But in the bubble at the moment, he's shooting something ridiculous from 3, and he's killing it.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. I've got it here. He shot. Oh yuck! It was terrible against Washington. He was 1 of 6. But he shot 75% against Philly. He shot 9 of 12. Then he was 1 of 6. He wasn't very good. He still shot 34 in that game. And then he shot 80% against Orlando. That's ridiculous. His plus minus over the last 3 games, Sauce, has been 59. That is ridiculous.
That is great.
That is crazy. But it's good. It's good to see someone is stepping up. But like we said, just don't pretend he's going to, don't think he's going to be this level of a player going into next season.
There's a reason why he's not considered a superstar. Superstars do this consistently. It takes consistency
Yeah.
over a 7-game series to get the job done. I don't believe in TJ Warren that he's going to be able to, handle the load. I mean, when in the playoffs, teams actually realize that he's the first option and then start D'ing him up accordingly as a first option.
Yeah, it makes
he really
everyone else
doesn't
accountable.
That's right. And I just don't think they're just missing too much talent to really make any noise. So, I mean, good on TJ Warren for taking advantage for his opportunities. And I think what I will say on that point about TJ Warren is, I'm not sure if you're aware, Domma, but Phoenix Suns traded TJ Warren for cash.
Yeah, I know that.
Now, this is a team that, can't even win 30 games on the season, and they've just traded a guy that's now proven that he could probably give you 20 points a night.
Yeah, I know that. I know what you're saying with that, but they're pretty happy at the moment. They're content at the fact that they've won 3 in a row and Booker's dominating and Aiden's looking good as well. Phoenix. But you don't know that's going to happen. Like this guy, you got to remember, he's come out of the bubble and done this. He's done absolutely nothing before the bubble.
Oh, he was averaging 19 points, I'm pretty sure, throughout the season.
Well, okay, he was averaging 19.
He was doing
that's
okay.
It's solid.
But that's what I'm saying. He's not a guy. He's not the guy. He's a third. So
just
as a third,
shooter.
if he's giving you 20 points, like, you take that. And his defense, I haven't looked into his metrics, but from what I see he plays, he's half decent on defense as well. So, I mean, I don't know. This is where I'm at with when I talk about Phoenix. I have no confidence in their front office to put the pieces around Devin Booker, which I believe is a stud. I think Devin Booker is, going to be a good player. Anyone that drops 71 points in a game has got potential.
Well, he's dominating now.
And you've seen he's killing it. I think he's a baller, but no confidence in the Suns front office. That's just where I sit with him. I mean, they've proven they keep stuffing up. So, prove me otherwise. It's the same thing when I go back to the fact about James Harden, his defense. Prove me otherwise, James, that you can do it over a 7-game series. Then I might, give you some. Then I might see you in a different light.
Yep, fair call. I'm with you on that. I'm not going to disagree. We got Milwaukee, who've lost the last 2. They lost to Houston, actually played really well.
They rested their players today. As I said, Domma, they were going to start resting their players.
Yeah. Orlando.
Giannis played 15 minutes.
Yeah. Orlando, I'm not bothered.
Unfortunately, Jonathan Isaac, injury note.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. That's the only one he's done his knee. So
he's done his ACL. Look, I don't know if has it come out confirmed. I think someone said it has.
No, he has. He's done it.
He has, confirmed ACL. Unfortunate, man. Domma, you and I have both been unlucky enough to do our ACLs. It's a bitch to come back from.
We wish him all the best, honestly.
We wish him all the best.
It's a tough one. He had a hard road to get back onto the court, and he's come back and in the second game, or the second game, and he's blown out his knee. It's so unfortunate. He's talent right there, but
he's got talent.
Very unlucky.
It's unlucky, man. Who knows how he's going to come back? I mean, we were seeing how an ACL affected Derrick Rose's career. Who knows what could hold for Jonathan Isaac, man?
Exactly. Toronto's looking pretty good. Washington's terrible, but Toronto and Philly are interesting ones. Yeah, Philly obviously lost to Indiana in the first game where Warren shot 59 or whatever it was, 49. It's just ridiculous. But we did predict them as the dark horse. I haven't given up hope yet because they play Washington and Orlando, and they look terrible. So they should win the next 2. Then in the West, Utah probably should have lost to New Orleans. We'll talk about them in a second. San Antonio's done well. Sacramento's lost every game. They haven't been great. Phoenix has won 3. Oklahoma's looking all right. Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr. is out. Not helping their chances of making the playoffs, unfortunately. Losing him. That's a big, big piece.
My boy JJJ, I'm high on him.
Good young player.
Very good.
Houston, not discussing
meniscus, isn't it, Domma?
Yeah, meniscus.
Yeah, so it's not as bad, obviously, as the ACL. Probably like 8 to 10 weeks,
8 to 10
something along there.
Yeah, he's done though.
Definitely done for the rest of the season. Let's look to see him back next season. I mean, not expecting Memphis, if they do make the playoffs, to even get past the Lakers. But would have been good to see how Jaren Jackson and Jarl played in the playoffs together, along with Brandon Clark and that young core. Would have been great experience for them going forward, but it's unfortunate.
Then we got our one of our favorite teams, No D Dallas. They're there.
I mean,
So,
we love their offense. Their offense is the best in the league. We love it.
It's elite.
And I mean, that's why we like to watch it. But I mean,
I love watching them.
We're going to call out James Harden on his D. We're going to call out Luka Doncic on his D. Let me just tell you.
Pathetic. The defense is a joke. Well, but in all honesty, like we said last week, we actually are keen for them to make playoffs so then they get that experience. So they learn what it's like, and then it forces them, if they really want to become true champions, to make changes in their game. That's the good thing about playoff basketball. A few teams now that we do want to touch on. Denver's looked pretty good without three of their key players. Obviously, the main one out of those three is Jamal Murray, but two really good role players in Will Barton and Gary Harris are also they're all set to return in their next game. We did see Michael Porter Jr. drop 37 the other day. Some big wraps around him. It's awesome that has been noticed for Denver, because that's another dimension they can add to their rotation. So really good stuff for a young player to show some really great signs. So
yeah, a lot of people high on him in the hobby. People been collecting him from the start, been waiting for him to get his opportunity. I mean, I'm happy to see him finally get some decent minutes and put up 37 points. His cards after he did that went absolutely crazy. Like, don't get me started, like, on the fact that one game where, all right, he had 37 points, but, you know, it's one game. It's one game. And my prediction is he'll be lucky to even get 20 minutes of game time in the playoffs. Once Murray, once Harris, once Barton back, all three of those players have been chosen throughout the year. I think I went and had a look at over 65 games before the bubble. He was inactive for 5 of those games, and I think 5 he was coach's decision, did not play. And then other than that, if you go have a look at all his minutes, he rarely got over 25 minutes. He was sitting around, you know, he would sit between 15 minutes to 25 minutes, you know, most of the games. So, I mean, I can't see coaches are renowned going into the playoffs, shortening rotations, actually using less guys because they like to keep the continuity and the chemistry between a smaller group. I mean, I just can't see where they playing extended minutes, essentially this is his rookie season. So yeah, I just don't see Malone having that trust in Porter Jr. to put him in at crucial times. Like, I mean, I think he'll see some minutes because he's talented, but he's not going to see an overly amount of minutes. So for all of you in the hobby that are hoping that he's going to dominate in the playoffs, sorry to tell you, but you know, he's going to be lucky to get 15 minutes.
Correct. Before we get into the big two powerhouses, and we'll have a bit of a chat about them, New Orleans, I did message you after the first game, and I was concerned at the fact of, like, I don't know why, like, Zion was playing minutes, and then he's on a minutes restriction after a layoff. Okay, they're being really cautionary with him and don't want to rush him, excuse me, but honestly, the first game, though, I know he had 15 points in 13 minutes. He did not look up to it. I'll be honest with you. He looked terrible. He was struggling on D. His offense wasn't great. His game awareness. It was probably because it was his first game back as a rookie. Like the tempo, he just seemed a bit off. I know he did score 15 points, but you can look at the stat sheet and a box score one way, but actually watching the game is completely different. So, but in saying that, his last 2 games, he has been a lot better.
Yeah, he's been a lot better. They've played him a few more minutes. And I mean, with the extra minutes, you've just seen what he can do. Like, he's so efficient. I think it's
a bulldozer.
I mean, they can still technically make the playoffs. I mean, if Memphis starts losing a game or 2, I mean, they did just beat Memphis. They got to pay him one more time.
So the interesting thing is, if you finish 8th, so if, all New Orleans have to do is finish in 9th spot with 4 games or less behind whoever's 8th, because they actually play a playoff amongst 8 and 9. So they play 2 games. If the 8th seed beats the 9th seed in the first game, that's it. It's over. That's a definitive 8th seed.
Okay.
But if the 9th seed wins the first game, they have to win the second game to get promoted to 8th.
All right.
So they need to win 2 in a row. If they split one of the 2, they're out. Or if they lose the first, they're out. So there's only one good way of them actually. They have to win 2. So out of the 3 possibilities, only one of them goes in their favor. But it could happen. Like now that Memphis hasn't got Jackson.
I mean, you got to think. You got to think that's a big loss, man. Like
Massive.
Let me just have a look at his numbers.
Portland's now 1 game behind Memphis, and Memphis is.
In the return, Jaren Jackson 33 points first game, 21 points, 20 points. I mean, you're losing a guy that's giving you 20 points a night, and arguably, I think he might be their best 3-point shooter.
Honestly, Portland. They've got a tough run ahead, because they got Denver, Clippers, 76ers, Dallas, and Brooklyn. But the Memphis Grizzlies run now is not in their favor. So they got Utah, Oklahoma, Toronto, Boston, and Milwaukee. I know Milwaukee's probably going to rest guys.
Milwaukee will probably rest, but the rest of those, I think, will play hard. I mean, Toronto's been playing hard. I want to talk about Toronto a little bit in a sec on the next one, but
where New Orleans plays Sacramento, Washington, San Antonio, Sacramento again, and Orlando. So they can potentially win the next 5.
That's a good run, and let me tell you, Brandon Ingram's been starting to put the pieces together in this bubble. He's looking good. I mean, I'm high on Brandon Ingram. I think he's one of the next great players to come into the NBA. The way his length and he's able to use that to his advantage, he really shows that he's taking his game to the next level, especially this season. Like, I definitely think he should win Most Improved Player for sure.
Definitely, no, I agree. Oh, that's fair. He's been really, really, really good. Just touch on the Lakers secured first seed now. They're going to rest guys. As simple as that. Don't get too high on them. Everyone out there listening to us, don't think that LeBron's going to play massive minutes. They'd be stupid to do it. It's just more to just keep that chemistry going, keep them rested.
Yeah.
The ones that have got that chemistry problem, like I'm not worried about the Lakers going into playoffs. Whatever happens with them, happens with them. The team I'm actually worried about is the Clippers, because they actually don't know their identity. As much as they've got this depth and talent on this team, they don't know their identity. They're struggling to string things along. They lost to Phoenix, they lost to the Lakers, they beat New Orleans. Like, that's it. That's all they've done so far. Coming back in, I know that they got Lou Will back in against Phoenix. They did lose on a buzzer beater, I know, against the Suns, but they're just trying to get their rotation back. And the problem with the team is if another guy gets injured on that list, like we hope it doesn't happen, because you always want fully healthy squads going into playoffs for the best basketball. But if they lose another player, like that's pivotal, they're in a bit of trouble because Montrezl Harrell still hasn't come back into the side. So if you keep on losing guys and replacing guys, you still got to build up that continuity again and that chemistry. Not having Harrell hurts them as it is anyway, as a bench player.
Not having Harold hurts them. Let me tell you, anyone go look at Harold's stats. The guy is just a scrapper. They don't give him any plays, and he's still averaging 19 points this season, and I think like 8 rebounds or something like that. He's the epitome of effort. Like, that guy gives 100% every play, defense, offense. He's always playing at 100. I mean, he brings so much energy to that team. I think he'll be truly missed if he's not there. I mean, and it allows them to play that small ball lineup that they put him at the 5, and that allows them to switch a lot more of their defense. I mean, essentially Kawhi and Paul George can guard the same position when they swap. They're very similar type size players. Man, it drops their options. It drops their options. I mean, if they have to continue to play Zubats at the 5, that really opens them up, I reckon. I feel defensively, because when you get the switch out, Zubac on the top, there's no chance he's guarding any guard in the NBA at this point. So they'll just be able to blow straight by him and get that penetration, get to the rim. Yeah. I mean, they do like to play Harold, and anyone who's watched Montrezl Harrell, when he gets switches out to guards, he's actually good at guarding guards.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He moves his feet. He's got good lateral quickness for a bigger guy. I mean, he'll be a miss. He'll be a miss. And don't forget, like, he's always there cleaning up on the offensive glass as well. You see so many times he's in the middle there just getting those offensive boards. So he does the things that no one likes to talk about, but they're the things that potentially win you games when you do them consistently.
Well, this time next week will be a completely different look on the standings. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Just before we move on, you wanted to touch on Toronto.
Yeah, so I wanted to first I want to touch on Toronto just over the I mean, people saying don't doubt the defending champs, don't doubt the defending champs. That's fine. By all means, my view is I just don't think that they'll have enough firepower without Kawhi now to get the job done over 7-game series.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fair assessment.
And that's what I see. And I mean, people are really, really riding Toronto. But, I'll just give you an example, right? A few years back, there was a great team. I think they won 60-plus games in the season. Atlanta Hawks with Jeff Teague, Josh Smith, Al Horford, right? I mean, Jeff Teague's been an all-star. Al Horford's been an all-star.
Cole Korver as well.
Cole Korver was there. I mean, when you talk about the main sort of players, that they were the main ones. They were a great team, but they never had that stud on their team that when it came to playoffs, that would be that difference that would be able to get you to the next round, or be able to get you that bucket at that certain time, or just be able to be relied on. They had that last season. That is now gone. Like, as much as you want to say Spicy P is, Pascal Siakam is an up-and-coming player, and Kyle Lowry is a good player. I mean,
it's all true, but they're not that Kawhi Leonard, which
they're
is
not
what they
a stud. They're not a superstar gun player. Like, they're not in that level. Where it's you give them the ball and they can get you a bucket. Like, a lot of their buckets come off good ball movement, screens, high at the top, getting the mismatches. I mean, Spicy P, the guy's going to be a force in years to come. You see the way he's slowly building on his game. You see this with players throughout the NBA. They're adding stuff to their game off-season, every off-season, and they get better. The guy when he gets a mismatch, the guy is, one of the better guys in the league at using his mismatch. So, I mean, I wouldn't worry Toronto fans going forward, because I think you've got some young talent coming through, but you don't have the stud. People need to stop riding Toronto, stop doubting the champ. Yes, doubt the champ, because the champ showed previously when they didn't have a stud before Kawhi, they couldn't get the job done. They've got a very similar team. They've got those key players that are there. Spicy P, OG was there. All right, they've gone along. They've built more time, but they didn't show them that they could get it done. Then Kawhi comes along, they can get it done. And without Kawhi, they wouldn't have got anywhere. So
100%.
This is where I'm at. Like, don't ride on Toronto. Yes, they're going to cause an upset. They're going to win some games. Of course, it's the playoffs. It's the NBA. All these guys are there because they have put in the hours, their elite talents to the point to get to the NBA. But they don't have that upper echelon of elite that will take you to a championship.
And just to touch on what you just said there, they had Kawhi last year. If you all remember in 2018, Do you know what they were called? They were LeBronto in 2018. LeBronto. Just don't forget that. That's what they were in
LeBron
2018.
owned them for 3 years.
That, like, if you're listening and you think you're hot, just remember that everything Saucy's saying is very, very true. They might surprise us. Yeah, they might. But just remember, they were LeBronto. They were champions. And now they're just the Toronto Raptors because LeBron's not in the East. But I'll tell you one thing. If they got out and Lakers were in the finals and they played them, they'd be LeBronto again. I can assure you that much.
That's for sure.
That's for sure. Like, I mean, I don't care what that stupid stat is that about Lakers lost last year.
Yeah, they beat the Lakers. But anyone who watched the game, go back and watch it. All these games, I've watched all the Lakers games thus far. LeBron is being passive. He's trying to get his teammates involved. He's trying to build the chemistry. He's just had 2 new guys walk onto his team. Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith. Albeit he's played with them before, but they haven't played together with this team, so you have to build the chemistry. And you can see LeBron, early in games, he's looking to get these guys involved. He's trying to work the chemistry, figure out, who can he rely on, who can he not rely on. I will say this, excuse me, Frank Vogel needs to play Dion Waiters a hell of a lot more than he plays J.R. Smith. That's just fact.
That's
Dion Waiters is so much more of a better player than J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith is probably a better knockdown shooter, catch and shoot, but everything else, Dion Waiters is better. Like, he's better at creating. He's better at getting inside. He can create his own shot. He can create for others. I mean, they need to keep paying Dion Waiters. I think that's important. But, don't be too worried. I understand Toronto beat Lakers, but don't look into it too much. I mean, LeBron barely got going in the game. He was looking a bit passive, and you can see he's trying to build the chemistry. So they've locked up first. Look for him to try just build the more chemistry. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers lose a couple of games, but I think they'll be trying to get more minutes into the JRs and the Waiters, and build on what they've got.
That's it. Definitely. Very nice. Well, that's our news.
What's that? The end of the NBA.
Yeah. End of the NBA. So it's come to what is our favorite segment of the podcast. As you know, highly touted, avid sports car collector. Big Saucy's going for it. We've got another week of Sauceys Smokey. Here we go. Just before you get into it, though, give him a little bit of an update on that Kobe card that was your Smokey last week.
Oh, right. So my Smokey last week, right? I called it. I said, the last PSA 10 sold at 350, and I believe the next ones that sell will go up. Let me just tell you, Domma, not only did they go up, they are nearly 3 times that 350 previously set price tag. The last sale, which I'm just going to look it up here just to confirm. Last sale, PSA 10 of that Kobe rookie. Well, if I can find it, that would be nice. I believe it went for something around about 800. I'm just going to try to find it for you, ladies and gents.
What did we say last week? He puts his money where his mouth is. We said he always brings the facts when it comes to cards. He's not here to stuff around. He wouldn't tell you to buy something he's not putting his money into.
I mean, there's a couple on eBay right now, ladies and gents, that are up to 330 US and 400 US that are on bids. Those other ones finished earlier in the week on. I'll give you the exact numbers, ladies and gentlemen, because we like facts here.
It's a very nice looking card as well. It's like we said, it's easy to get your hands on raw ones. If you can get a few really nice raw ones and you're keen on grading
them. Let me tell you, the raw ones haven't moved. The raw ones haven't moved in price.
There you go. Like, you just got to just buy up the raw ones. You might get lucky and be this one's like the quality. You grade it.
It's worth the chance, Domma. You can I bought a lot of Kobe ones, and the guy gave them to me for 15 US each card. I think I ended up buying a lot of 6. So, I mean, it roughly worked out to about 15 US a card. I mean, by the time I get that over here, that maybe with shipping and all that sort of jazz is probably works out to about 1750 US a card. But if one of those cards is a PSA 10 potentially, that's essentially now turning that card, once you pay for the grading, which is about $35, into an $800 US card.
Which
So
is close to 1,000 Australian dollars.
yes. So the last sold, as I said, was 810, and I mentioned last week that there was a few ending on bids. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, it's even worth sending the card in if you think it's going to get a PSA 9, because the PSA 9s are now starting to slowly creep up. And as we've seen with other cards, as the PSA 10s creep up, the PSA 9s, they trickle behind, but they do eventually get up there.
Raise in value.
So the PSA 9s are trading for that Kobe card, which I mentioned last week, at $108 was the last sale, 108 US. So all these numbers are in US, ladies and gentlemen, just to be clear. But yeah, you can still get the raws. You can still definitely get the raws. I mean, I'll have a look and just see the update on some of the raws of what they're selling at and just give you a couple of numbers, people. But, you definitely can get something like, I mean, here's one, someone bought 2 raws for $46. So my price tag around $20 US was around about right, and still sticks this week. And I can't believe it. I've let everyone know, I've told people, and I've spoke to people who have been in the hobby longer than me, and they agree with my point. I mean, it's just a matter of time till the masses realize this, and this actually gets corrected. So,
well, you heard it here first, though. Just don't forget, you heard it here first. Sauceys Smokey.
Well,
he said
I had
it
a lot of
first.
people disputing the fact that it can't, but it has to, because I think it's just at this point in time, everyone's focused on the bubble. Everyone's focused on, this sort of thing. It takes one sort of influencer within the hobby to point this out, who's maybe got a bit more of a social following than myself, and that will see the masses' eyes onto the card, and then the card will then begin to go through the roof. I truly believe that raw, this card should be at least $100 US. Like, I mean, if Lucas is going for 60, a guy who's won 1 All-Star appearance and a guy who's won 5 championships and had 18 All-Star appearances is going for 20, that doesn't make sense. So,
yeah. Anyway, let's get your
onto the Smokey. Onto the Smokey. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna get this article, right? Let me just get it. I don't know what the hell I've done with it. I've lost the article. Lucky I've saved it, Domma. Like
yeah,
I always do.
You are prepared.
Right,
don't worry.
here we go.
He's prepared. He's not going to let
He's
you
prepared.
down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just gonna run off some accomplishments that this player has had in their career. 2 NBA MVP awards. 3 NBA Finals MVP awards. 5 NBA championships. 15 All-Star appearances. And the last one, I really like this stat. 3rd most all-time in the NBA for wins. He's ranked 3rd of all time amongst all the players ever for wins.
Who is it? Come on.
Let me just tell you, Domma,
Come on.
the disrespect that people are giving this player, and this is not even a card. I've got some numbers on some cards. This is just about where this guy stands as an NBA basketballer in comparison, and what his cards are selling for. I mean, just as an NBA basketball and what he's completed in his career and accomplished in his career compared to some of these players nowadays and what they've accomplished and then what their cards are selling for. It's out of whack. It is out of whack. I'm calling it, and I've been seeing, someone who's quite influential in the hobby who's been saying he's been buying vintage.
Yeah.
Now, this player can't be more vintage than, well, he is retired. So he's vintage. He's not he's not the most flashy player, but you can't deny his statistics and what he's achieved in his career. The man is none other than Tim Duncan. This guy is a bona fide Hall of Famer. Didn't get inducted because of the unfortunate thing, what happened with Kobe, and they postponed the induction. But he will 100% get inducted next year. 100%. And the disrespect that people are giving this guy is unbelievable. I will say this right now.
He's boring.
Well, that's what they say. That's what they say. But I'll say this right now. The San Antonio Spurs won 5 championships. You can say without maybe Manu Ginobili, they still win 1, 2 championships. But without Duncan, they win 0. And that's fact. True. Take Duncan out of that team, they don't win any championships. That guy was the anchor of that team for that era and across the championships. You know, obviously the last one, he was less so because he was on the way out. But you can't say they didn't have his impact within those games.
Oh, yeah, massive influence.
Right? So where he sits at, what he sits at, those accomplishments, I read off an article which I picked up, which we'll drop in the socials. We'll tweet it out so you guys can go have a look. How you can be giving this guy such disrespect in his card price is unbelievable. I'll just give you some numbers, right, Domma? So
the facts. I love it.
His NBA Hoops card is selling for anywhere between $2 to $8.
What?
Right?
$2 to $8.
These are all rookie cards. Don't forget, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, always talking about rookie cards. If I'm talking about another something out there than rookie card, I'll definitely mention it. But his rookie card, Hoops, is going for $2 to $8. Like, it's a bit bizarre. Like, I think I picked two of them up. Plus, there was an extra Timmy Duncan card in it. It was a 3-card lot for like $12. I was like, that was just a no-brainer for me. I mean, that $12 can't even get you 1/8 of a Luka Hoops card, and the guy's accomplished nothing in his career. Oh, actually, sorry. He's accomplished 1 All-Star appearance. Tim Duncan's got 15. Tim Duncan's got 5 championships. Tim Duncan's got 2 MVPs. Tim Duncan's got 2 Finals MVPs. Luka Doncic's accomplished 1 All-Star appearance. I'm just using Luka Doncic because everyone loves this guy.
But it goes across the board too, because if you compare him to Trae Young,
it's coming. It's coming. Guys, so I'll go through the hoops. So that's his hoops card. Luka Doncic hoops, obviously we heard last week, is going for $60 for his hoops card. Trae Young's hoops card, $10. Here's a one even better. Now, this is where I had to throw this in. Obviously, we've seen Michael Porter Jr. go off during the week, 37 points. I'm like, let's see what his cards are selling. Michael Porter Jr.'s hoops card is going anywhere between $7 to $10. So Michael Porter Jr., who's had one good game, his first season, his hoops card rookie is selling more than a Hall of Famer. Tim Duncan, a guy who's won 5 championships, 2 Finals MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs. Hello, wake up! Like, this is just nuts.
And we're going to keep harping on it. I know you're going to keep ranting on it, but it's true. Why are we basing everything on what we're seeing now when we can base it on what we've already seen? That's my biggest thing. Superstar.
I mean, I was buying these guys. I was buying some of these guys. Don't get me wrong. Like, I was buying some of these guys, 6 months ago when they were cheap. When I was buying Jaren Jackson Jr., don't get me wrong. I like Jaren Jackson. I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But you can't justify even some of their card prices when they've accomplished nothing. They've still got their career to go. What happened to Jonathan Isaac where he blew a knee could happen to Luka Doncic. You don't know. So why would you be paying that obnoxious amount of money when you can get a bona fide Hall of Famer but a bona fide Hall of Famer I mean, last week I
Well,
was
he
saying a
is.
GOAT.
Well, technically he is. He's the greatest
is.
power forward of all
His greatest
time.
power. So there you go. So bona
He
fide
is a
Hall of
GOAT.
Famer GOAT for that price. So we'll go down the list again, right? So then I started to, you're only talking about hoops. You might bring up you guys. So I started to go down the list and I started to think, back in 1997 when Tim Duncan's rookie cards came out, they didn't have these, these other cards what we have today that Panini's bringing out. So I thought, what is the card from then? What would be its equivalent card from now? So I've gone with the Topps card, the rookie Tim Duncan 1997 Topps rookie card is going for about $20 to $25 raw, right? What I would think would be an equivalent card would either be the Donruss or the Optic. So the Donruss is going for, get this, $100 US, right? So I'm saying that's his comparable card. So his comparable card would be that Topps card, and comparable today might be a Donruss.
The
Luka.
Donruss, which is
potentially
Domma.
a Donruss Optic. I'm not sure. I'm just going with that, but $100, right? Trey Young's Donruss card, $23, so essentially the same price as Tim Duncan. Michael Porter Jr.'s Donruss card, $8. But then I looked at his Donruss Optic card, it's going for $22. So essentially the same as Tim Duncan. Now, these are raw prices. Now, I just went and looked at a couple of graded. Now, graded Topps PSA 10, $600 for a Tim Duncan. A Donruss graded PSA 10, $340 for a Luka. So that seems like, that seems, reasonable. But this is where it's retarded. Because then I looked up the Optic, Donruss Optic PSA 10 Luka, and that's going for $1,000. So, I mean, I don't understand. But then I also looked up Tim Duncan's Topps Chrome. Now, Topps Chrome is like what people these days like to collect, which is the Prism set. Topps Chrome is what I'd perceive as the equivalent to Prism these days. So a Topps Chrome raw for Tim Duncan, $170. A raw one for Luka, $360. A raw Prism, $360. So he is more than double a guy who, once again, as I said, 5 championships, 2 MVPs, 2 finals MVPs, and 15 All-Star appearances.
What in the world?
He's double a guy who has all that and a guy that has got 1 All-Star appearance. Once again, makes no sense. Then, mind you, this is where it's, I can't believe the raw price, but then the graded price, the Luka Doncic graded Prism base PSA 10 is $1,300. Topps Chrome PSA 10 is $1,275. So it's about even. If this is what the hobby has come to, that we are paying the same amount for a card of a player who's in their second season, who's got 1 All-Star appearance and is probably going to get bounced in the first round of the playoffs and accomplish nothing, which we don't know how he's going to go. He could be a great, like Steve Nash, other great players out there, Charles Barkley, that never won a championship. He might go his whole career and never win a championship. We don't know. So how can you pay the same amount for that guy compared to a guy who's won 5 championships, who was the pillar of those championships, where if you took him out, potentially, I argue, they wouldn't have won any. And he's got 2 MVPs and 2 finals MVPs. I'm just calling it. Tim Duncan is not being given the respect he deserves. That guy is the best power forward. I mean, he played in a different era, close to the basket. They didn't take that many threes. Threes were saved for the guards, not for the big guys. He did what a big guy was supposed to do in that era. He rebounded hard, he defended hard, and he scored. he averaged 19 and 11 for his whole career. I mean, it tailed off the last few years of his career as he got older. But if he retired 2 years earlier, he would have averaged easily 20 points a game. He's over his whole career. Like, I mean, guys, wake up, man. Like, all these new guys coming through, they're going to average more points per game over their career because there's a lot more possessions. There's a lot more higher pace. So there's more scoring. And we see that. And, I mean, people are going to argue these points going back. But people need to realize that during his era, he was a gun. And he needs to be respected that way. His cards should not be the same price as these guys that are coming up now. His cards should be more. If in 15 years, Luka has won a championship, 2 championships, an MVP, had a finals MVP, hell, his card should be more. Then we can argue that point. But right now, how all these guys, and I'm talking, I'm using Luka because he's the top dog in all of this. But, it goes down to even Ja Morant. It goes down to even Zion. It goes down to even, let me just put it in perspective. A LeBron James Topps Chrome PSA 10 was not going for $1,000 till only 18 months ago or something like that. 18 months ago, 2 years ago. But yet, Zion's PSA 10 base raw is already going for $1,000 in his first year. How's the discrepancy? I understand there's more eyes and more money within the hobby, but where's the discrepancy? How do you justify that for a player that's just come onto the scene when they've accomplished nothing? And we don't know if they're going to get injured. We don't know how their career is going to pan out. But hey, let's pay $1,000 for their PSA 10 Prism card. Oh, he might do a knee in years to come, and there goes his whole career. Guys, wake up. I can't say it enough. Tim Duncan, go buy his rookie cards, Topps, Hoops, whatever, Topps Chrome. They're all undervalued. Every single one you look at, they're all undervalued. You can go look into the pop reports. The pop reports on those cards all absolutely annihilate Luka Doncic and this year's rookies. Get on it. Get on it. He's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame next year. Definitely around that Hall of Fame time, there'll be some interest. Even if you hold on to those cards till then and just flip them at that point, you'll make some money. But, man, I've bought a few Timmy Duncans. I mean, I'll even show you. I mean, as you can see, anyone who's watching via YouTube, you'll be able to see this. But for those listening on the podcast, I'm holding up a Tim Duncan Topps card, one of the cards I'm talking about, SGC 9.5, which I think I picked this up for 53 to 50, somewhere between 50 to 60 US dollars I paid for this. So, I mean, by the time this comes to Australia, that's maybe a $90 to $100 card. But, I mean, Luka Doncic's raw is going for 100 US. So, I mean, I got a graded one for cheaper. Anyone who wants to diss SGC, keep dissing them. I think they'll come up in the market. And, yeah, I just couldn't refuse it on that price. I mean, it looks clean that to the point where if eventually the Tim Duncans get the respect that I feel they deserve and the PSA 10s shoot up more, I will send this to PSA and try and get it crossed over. So, guys, buy Timmy D. Bang. That's it, Domma. It's been another great episode. Unbelievable.
Another one. I mean, jam-packed.
Whew. That was exciting. I mean, we had a lot to talk about.
But like we always say, thanks for joining us. And we hope you tune in again next week. We'll bring you some more news, some more stuff coming from all around the world, and some more updates. Another Sauceys Smokey. Now we had a couple this week. He had to put a couple on the back burner, but he's got a few in the works, which is good. May even venture into some more trading card talk next week as well, which will be very, very nice.
That'll be nice.
So thanks for joining us again.
Thank you for joining, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Another banging 2-hour episode. geez, we said we wanted to try to get this one a bit shorter this week, but once we start talking sports, we love it, live it, and breathe it. Double coverage.
Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcasting app. Also, if you could please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be awesome. Don't forget to follow us on socials at DBLcoverage_ on both Instagram and Twitter to join in with your opinions.